Hello, we are back. In this podcast, I like to explore how marketing leaders, VPs of marketing, CMOs, heads of growth, heads of content, etc., how they actually make their ideas come to life through navigating conversations with their CEOs, with their CFOs, with the board, which we all know that it doesn't actually matter how creative you are or if you are the best marketer in the world, if you can't make these conversations go in a way that supports you actually being able to do the work that you need to do, then you're not going to be able to get the results that you have envisioned. So I'm really excited about this because it ties together the things that I love, which is marketing, data storytelling, and psychology, communication. So I'm figuring out how other people are doing it because it seems to be quite a pain point for other marketing executives around the world. So today I have Gustav Wallberg, who's the head of marketing at Alva Labs. And I'm really excited to talk to you about navigating executive conversations. How's it going, Gustav?
It's going great, thanks. And it's fun to be here. And I agree so much on these pain points. I think it's, we marketers can get stuck in our own world a bit, what we think is important. But yeah, if we can't get the company to move in the same direction, we will never be able to get the results. So fun.
So talk to me. Why, like, what makes you feel like this is a strong pain point for you? How have you felt that in your career as head of marketing?
Like if I go back to where I started, I come from direct response, digital marketing, running ads on Facebook and Google back in 2015. And from the B2C side, in B2C, the marketing team is the one driving revenue. It's the whole revenue function essentially. And I'm used to having my head on the line. If we hit the numbers and hit the targets, we're going to get the cheers and the applause. And that's where I started. And then I moved into B2B back in 2020 when I joined Alva Labs. So this is my first tenure as head of marketing on the B2B side. And I think it was a lot of learnings right from the start there. All of a sudden, it's not actually marketing owning the revenue targets. It's the sales team. And they get all the highs as well as the lows, depending on the targets. And then we're a bit one step behind or a bit more disconnected to when a deal is closing or not. So I think it's so important to know how do we work with them? How do we get them to see what we're doing and understand the value that we can add to it? That's been a revelation to me that, okay, we need to work together as a team. It's not just me running the show,
So who did you report to when you were at Alva Labs?
To the CEO. So it's been
CEO.
Me and then the head of sales next to me.
And then the head of sales. So coming from G2C, where you said, basically it's all marketing. They don't have to speak to salespeople. What were it sounds like from what you're saying, the first person whose buy-in you had to get was the head of sales, or you had to find that kind of alignment with them. Was that even more important than getting buy-in from the CEO?
I think so, yeah. I heard a quote a couple of years back. It was like, if the CEO tells you to go right and the VP of sales tells you to go left, you go left. And I think I learned that pretty quickly. And I think it's, when you can team up with the sales leader and really this is what we believe in and come into the board meeting or the leadership meeting as a package deal, that's where you can already really get the rest of the organization with you on whatever it is that you want to push for. But if not, if you and the head of sales are battling against each other, especially in those contexts, you're both going to be in a bad place pretty quickly. So I think.
When did you hear that quote? Was it before you started working at Alva Labs?
No, I think it was. I don't remember who said it. I think it was one of the other podcasts out there where I heard it. But it stuck with me. I think it's really important.
That's a powerful quote. So how did you feel your relationship was with the head of sales, if you don't mind saying publicly?
No, it's been good. Me and Sophia we've been working really, really well together. But I think, so some context to it, when I joined and during 2021, it was a lot of push. It felt like the trend was to go product led. And that was also something we wanted to do. And we started out in Sweden, and then you have a pretty quick you can ramp in Sweden, but it's a small population, so you have to go international pretty quickly. And the way we wanted to do that, and like when we had focused on mid-market companies, tech scale-ups, that sort of thing, with a sort of sales-led approach, outbound, inbound in a mix. Fairly sort of short sales cycles, but still very sales-led. And then we had a sort of, I was tasked to, okay, let's build a product-led function. Let's work together with the product team, set up the free trial motion, do all of that. While the sales team were the ones who had to hit the numbers still. So kind of like we were almost like moving away. Okay, marketing and product are going to go here into their sandbox and work with a free trial motion that might or might not work. We think it's going to be the big thing. And then the sales team and sales leader, they're going to have to hit the numbers over here, but with less support from marketing. So that was a sort of tricky situation for us to balance. So I think personally, we've all seen eye to eye on like how we want to do things. We complement each other really well, and I think being a good sales leader and being a good marketing leader is not the same thing. And that's something that we also figured out a bit early on, that okay, what are your strengths? What are my strengths? How do we sort of, where do we need to complement each other, and where can we really like push together? But when we also started sort of, our goals were a bit misaligned, and I had to focus over there, and still having the sales team wondering where the hell is marketing? What are they doing? How are they actually helping me to hit my pipeline goals and quotas? That was a bit more friction. So yeah, we've had a great relationship, but it's also been up and down. And I think that's right now where we are today. The sort of whole go-to-market function is now a lot more aligned, which is, of course, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, now it seems that go-to-market used to be mostly sales, and now it's like a big part of go-to-market includes marketing within it. So when you, let's go back to when you said your KPIs, or I guess your responsibilities, marketing was for the PLG function, and then sales, I guess they're generating their own leads, but then they're also saying like, hey, what's the point in marketing if I have to generate my own leads or something like that? So what did you do about that?
I think for a while we just tried to do everything at once. But we also, I think we all, in all teams, felt that, okay, we're starting to spread ourselves really thin here. So I think we started having that discussion, me and the sales leader, like what is it that we need to do to hit the growth targets this year and next year and the year after that. So trying to balance both the short term and long term. And then it was actually, I think, kudos to the sales leader, Sophia, who really saw that, okay, I think the enterprise segment is where we want to move, really focusing on the more high-touch sales-led motion. And that could have been a tough one for me because I come from a B2C, more direct response. I'm really comfortable in driving traffic to the website, having them convert, and then buying something on the website. So going enterprises all the way to the other end of the spectrum. But we said, okay, we need to do something. Where are our strengths as an organization, as a commercial department? Where is the product strong? I think you need to align all of those in order to also have an efficient machine. So we started having those discussions, and then the big break was when we had a sort of joint project, I think it was a year ago, with most of the management team involved, trying to figure, okay, like, let's once and for all decide who is our ICP, what are their pain points, how are we going to get to them. And I think that's how we solved it. And then we put some initiatives on ice, and like, let's come back to them later. Let's all focus here and now on that part. But it started with the sales leader. She identified that, okay, there's something here. We can't continue to do this. And I think we all felt the stress of trying to do too many things at once, which I don't think we're the only scale up who tried to do everything at once, but we all have to learn, right?
So it sounds like you got lucky to have a good head of sales to be able to collaborate with that somewhat understood marketing.
For sure. Well, yes. I mean, she's not a marketer. We won't be able to sit down on and look at demand gen campaigns and tactics. She's not going to be bothered by that. But no, she understands. I think the most important part, which I could have been struggling a lot more with, is the sort of long-term way of building a brand and building an audience. I think on the fundamentals and foundations of marketing, she's a believer. So for sure that was a good thing.
So practically speaking, how did you, so if you're not going to, tell her, okay, we're going to run this demand gen campaign or we're going to do SEO here and there, practically speaking, how did you come to her to say, these are the motions or these are the actions that I want to take, and here's how it ties back to what we spoke about? Like, what techniques or frameworks did you use to present that?
I can't say that I have any good frameworks or exactly this is the recipe for how to do it, but I think it all starts with the goals. Okay, are we aligned on this? It's our goals now. We need to hit this much new revenue in 2024. How are we going to do that? Okay, let's break it down. Which markets do we need to win in? We have our home market. We have this market that we're we're starting to see traction. But is that enough for it? And then start to break that down. And then we see that, okay, in order to hit the quotas in Q1 and Q2, we're going to have to focus on our home market as well. We can't just forget about that. And then what about this market? And then during those discussions, and if it's a brainstorm in Miro or if it's a workshop in the office, you start to get this sort of list of, okay, these are the initiatives that we believe in. And then you need to be really cynical and pragmatic. Say, okay, how far down on this list can we actually go and still have results in them? If we try to do 5, are we actually going to be able to succeed in any of them? Or are we just going to half-ass 5 things? Maybe we focus on the first 3. So I think it's, but starting on like the yearly goal, where do we need to be? Okay, let's break that down. I think that doing that process together, so it's not 2 teams doing their separate planning. We've tried that in the past, and that will never work.
No.
So you need to do it together.
Okay. So when it comes to everything that you did at Alva Labs, if you didn't have anybody to report to, or if you didn't, I guess it's a tricky question because you didn't have to report to the head of sales, but you needed to be aligned to be successful to a degree. But if you didn't have to, if you could do everything on your own, how different would it look from what you did do? How would your strategy be different?
It's tricky because the way I like to see marketing being able to do a lot more, and if you want to scale the growth, I believe that you need to have a scalable sort of way, an automatic process to get customers into it, onboard them to the product, all of that. I like that notion, but I think a good marketer also knows how to play with the strengths of the company. So when I joined Alva, it was already 3 years into their journey, and like the product won't be able to onboard the customer and the users without them having like someone holding their hand. So and then the problem we solve at the company is also not just, it doesn't really work with the bottom up process of someone just starting a free trial, entering the credit card, and this is great, I'm going to forward it to my colleague in another team, and then it's going to spread in the whole organization. It is more of a sort of strategic thing that the CHRO will launch in the company. So me personally, I still really like the sort of B2B combined with B2C, like more low touch type of thing. But if I go back to 3 years ago and like redoing the Alva journey, I would have sort of more high touch sales led enterprise because that really fits with the product. So yeah, I'm happy right now because I think we're doing the things that I really believe in, and I think that's key. It's the best for the company.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you have a really great situation at Alva where you have the option to go PLG low touch, but it works really well when it's all connected and everybody was communicating well. Another question and something that you brought up was balancing the short term and the long term. When you were brought on, so we all know that good marketing is a long-term goal. It takes a lot of work looking. We need to build brand, especially in B2B. It's so much more important in B2B. Brand is one of the biggest decision-making factors in the B2B buying process. And we need to be building with that long-term vision. But executives, also head of sales, want, what are we doing this quarter? What are we getting? How do we solve for today's problems? What did you do for long-term growth, and how were you able to pitch that to your colleagues and executives and be able to find that balance?
I think it's so important what you put into building a brand. If you say we need to focus on brand, it can like the red flag is going to go off in the CFO. Oh, right, he's going to go asking for a big budget to spend on billboards and redoing the website 10 times and getting merch out there. I think there's so many ways to build brand. The way we've done it, I've had a few things that I really believe in, and that I also gotten them to believe in. So for us, it's been like the HR community is really social. We saw a gap in the sort of influencer space, and we had really good and talented people at Alva who were industry experts and really knows the things, also super charismatic and wants to be on stage. So one of the things that we've done is building the audience for Alva through webinars and a podcast, and we've had the spokesperson Linnea, who's head of people, so she's the peer to our target audience essentially. So we built her brand and worked with her LinkedIn, and been doing that for almost, I think, month 2. We launched that when I joined in 2020. So we've been doing that for 3.5 years now. And I think it was last year that we really started to see the traction of her getting on bigger and bigger stages and venues without us paying for it, because they want her on that stage. So I've had a couple of things that I really, really want to do. And it's not been a big cost post in the budget. So I think we've been pretty smart and pragmatic about it. And then we just have to say, trust me on this, because it's gonna work. But it's such a big difference in what you ask for. I think that you really need to go into your company and your brand and say, okay, what are the strengths that we can work with at this company? If you don't have someone who can be on stage, maybe you're not going to push the thought leadership. Then you need to find something else. But how do you sort of build an audience or build recognition within the target audience? I think, and then picking a couple of things that you can stick with long term, instead of trying to launch 5 or 6 initiatives that will all just die off in a quarter or 2.
So this spokesperson, this was somebody who already worked at Alva?
Yeah.
Okay. And was it part of her job description to do this?
No, absolutely not. We've had so many discussions. How much time should I spend on marketing and not? So that's, but she loves it, and she also sees the value. And then it's been up and down, depending on also, because she's head of people and HR function in the department. And when we've been hiring a lot of people and onboarding a lot of people, it's not as easy for her to also take that podcast guest opportunity and go to Copenhagen or London to be on stage. So it also depends a lot on her bandwidth at the time. So of course we had okay, how much time can we spend on it? And then we've been backing her up as much as we can. So we've been ghostwriting for her and supporting her as much as possible, so she can only do the fun stuff of it. But no, she's never had it in her job description to be a marketer. But it's I think we all saw the value of having someone that the audience can relate to. I think that's what we see in all the sort of successful B2B brands now, is that they have someone that they can put in front and not just doing it from the company page.
So that's a really good move. So so she was a spokesperson, she was guest on podcast, she went to events.
Yeah.
Did she also have to create content?
We did sit here for 30 minutes and talk to us about something. And then we're
Yeah.
going to write some drafts for you, try to get your tone of voice right, and then have her being the editor, essentially. So she's in the idea stage and she's in the editing stage. And then,
Yeah.
sometimes she also just posts something on her own, but we wanted to make it easy for her.
Right. Okay. So actually, it wasn't so much to, like you said, it wasn't a huge ask for the executive team, because you say this person's already on salary. We're going to do most of the work for her. She just has to show up places and talk about stuff she knows about already.
Exactly. And then if they knew how many places she had to show up on, maybe they would have said no. I don't
know. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this was your long-term play. Meanwhile, the stuff that you put budget and money into, those were the short-term performance plays?
Yeah, and sort of midterm, but more demand gen, paid campaigns, that sort of thing, events as well.
Do you consider demand gen a short or like a midterm play?
Oh, tough question. I think, it works in the long term as well. I think depends on where you put it. The way now we have a list of X number of companies that we want to reach during the next year and maybe the years after that. So for us, we know the sales cycles are long, so we can't expect running ads campaigns to them for 3, 4, 5 months, and then they're going to convert into customers. So it might actually take 1 or 2 years. But we also have the bottom funnel there, and we're going to help them find their way back to us with retargeting, and we're going to show up there on Google Ads when they're ready for a conversion or a meeting or a demo. But that, I would call that more demand capture in a way. But yeah, I think it's a bit more long term on the demand gen side.
Okay. Yeah, because I've had different conversations with people, and some people are talking about how they need to get buy-in for a long-term play like demand gen. Because I guess if you're starting it from scratch, then it is a long-term play because it's about brand building, educating the audience, teaching them about the pain points and problems and potential solutions. And like you said, sales cycles are long, but I guess it also depends on how long-term you define long-term to be, and what is considered midterm. Is long-term 5 years or is it 1 year? I don't know.
Yeah. But then it's also tricky because, or at least the way we did it, is that you start in the bottom of the funnel and get the sort of high intent keywords up on Google, some retargeting, and you know that the cost per meeting booked or cost per lead is going to be super low because you will sort of get the clicks from the ones who are really already ready to buy. And then you're going to go ask for a budget to start scaling that. And then you need to move up a layer to the sort of mid funnel or whatever. And then it's going to be more expensive. So it's also really tricky to have those discussions, where do you start? Because you have to get that foundation right and the sort of last part of it. But then getting the budget to go long term, it's a tricky discussion. I think you need to do it incrementally.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like you're in the camp of you need to prove or you need to earn the right to ask for more budget for longer term plays.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But isn't that some sort of self-preservation thing as well? Asking for a huge budget to do a long-term thing, which is a bet / a gamble, because you don't really know how much revenue you're going to get from it. You could see yourself being fired also after 6 or 12 months if you do that. So I think it's smarter to start slow.
No, that's a very interesting thing that you're saying, especially what I learned. I was just at Golden Hour and CMO Summit in spring over the last 2 weeks, some marketing events. And one theme that I kept hearing as well was marketers right now have a big, or I guess buyers in general, have the fear of messing up. Fear of messing up is greater than the fear of missing out. So the context we were given this in was more of buying software, but I also think it applies now to how we are marketing. And it's scary to take a big risk. And like you said, we have to kind of earn or prove to self-preserve, to say, okay, I've set this thing up, even though I know that that big play is going to do something, but we need to bring something in for now. And I guess that's what marketing should be doing anyway. We do need that mix of short-term and long-term plays. I would do the same for a client in SEO. I would start with demand capture, make sure that all of the searches with super high commercial intent, that we're hitting those and that those are being built out, because you want to build the revenue generating engine. And then from there, you can start building out these longer term plays. So it all kind of aligns.
Yeah. And it's
All
so
right.
much building trust. I think it could be the same with the sales team as well. Like, okay, we want to do this whole big whatever type of campaign that's going to be long term and have a bunch of touch points. Is going to run for 6 months. Like, maybe start with helping them with the slide decks, so they can instantly see what are the things that you can do for them that's going to make their lives easier. Like, let's look at this sequence that you're running. Can we do some small improvements there before you ask them to sit in workshops 3 times with like 3 hours each to work on this whole storyline or whatever it could be? Like, be smart about it. Earn the trust first. Absolutely.
That's actually a really good shout, because I think it might be second nature when you say, I'm joining as a marketer, I need to do these workshops. I need to do a deep dive with sales. I need to do these things in order to get the information that I need to achieve my goals. But like you say, you haven't established that trust with them yet. You haven't shown them that I am here to help you achieve your goals at the end of the day. So that's a good recommendation as well, is to take it step by step, give them a little bit, show that you're here to help them, and then do an ask. So it's not just for customers, it's also for the internal stakeholders.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, well, this feels like a good spot to wrap it up. Gustav, thanks so much for chatting with me about this. It's a topic that I'm very interested in, so I always love to hear how other people are navigating these conversations and with whom they need to be having them. And it's not the same for everybody. So it's quite interesting. And I really also liked to hear about your transition from D2C to B2B, sales-led B2B. It's also quite interesting how those experiences change. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. It was really fun to join. I think these type of discussions, we need to do more of them in marketing. And I think we're a collaborative function. I think it's so easy for us to just get stuck in our own world and our own bubble and want to do our marketing projects. But we need to be in there, in the trenches with the sales team, and like working with them. So it's a good topic.
Thanks. All right. Well, if anybody wants to connect with you after listening to this, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, reach out on LinkedIn. I think you find me there, Gustav Wallberg, and then ping me, and then let's have a chat.
Sounds good. Thank you, Gustav. For those who are listening, please, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, subscribe, share with friends or family. I could use all of your support if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.